Welcome, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to the Sustainable Baltic Sea Region high-level webinar here in Espoo, Aalto University, and next to the Baltic Sea, as you can see behind us. My name is Taina Tukiainen, and I'm the host and one of the moderators today. Together, we all wish you warmly welcome to this seminar. Firstly, I wish to elaborate the aim of this event. In this event, we look behind the scenes at Baltic Sea regions and show how smart specialization strategy and solutions for sustainability, energy and digital challenges arise. Today, the morning part gives an overview of the EU context and state of play, and in the afternoon, we will focus on future and youth and how to move forwards. As a series on the top, we will launch our book of Sustainable Baltic Sea Region towards economic transformation at 11:20, telling regional strategies, stories, analysis and results of 9 countries around the Baltic Sea region. Yeah, we all want to live in an environment worth living, in which can only be achieved by everybody working together towards sustainability, regardless of profession, age and gender. We are calling for sustainability in politics and business. We see this event as the beginning of a new era towards the sustainable acting for our future. This event is broadcasted worldwide via the live stream, and therefore it's important to stay in schedule. I would like to thank already now the speakers in advance. Our viewers worldwide can see the entire program, and also you can ask questions in chat room from where we will pick it up and bring to the discussions. So now we are going to begin with the greetings and keynote speeches, and we welcome our Vice President Maros Šefčovič. We are very honored to have your video message. As you maybe have heard today from the news, the EU and UK negotiations continue today, so therefore he could not be online as planned. Vice President Šefčovič, your mandate is European Foresight, and you have just published the report of Strategic Foresight of Europe. So, Maros Šefčovič, the floor is yours. Welcome, Brussels.
Good morning. First of all, my thanks to the organizers for inviting me to speak to you. I'm sorry that I can't join you live for this event, but the duties as a co-chair of the EU-UK Joint Committee require me to be elsewhere as you see this message. I would like to start with strategic foresight and how it will influence our policy making at European level in the future, especially in the view of the twin digital and green transitions. Strategic foresight is the art of developing intelligence about the future to inform the actions of today. This is not a new subject for the Baltic region, of course. Notably, Finland has been a pioneer of making better use of foresight with its Parliamentary Committee for the Future. But now is the moment to take this to the next level by exploiting strategic value of the foresight. Which is why the European Commission is becoming the first major public administration to bring strategic foresight to the highest political level. While we have used foresight for many years already, up till now it was done in a piecemeal way and largely at the arm's length from the political level. This is because political actors tend to focus on the short term and are prone to see quick fixes. Strategic foresight challenges the status quo and focuses minds on the next generation, not the next election. At the same time, strategic foresight is not crystal ball. The future cannot be predicted. And in a complex and rapidly changing world, new megatrends and shocks like COVID-19 will inevitably emerge and affect our lives. So we must keep our eyes on the horizon to spot early signs of emerging challenges, to assess their likelihood and risks, and integrate this knowledge into our actions. This is what strategic foresight is about: anticipating, exploring, and acting. Our ambition should be nothing less than to establish world-class anticipatory governance. For this, we need to apply strategic foresight to resilience, one of the main lessons we can already draw from the COVID-19 crisis. Indeed, as we laid out in the report, resilience will be our new policy compass. To this end, we looked more specifically at Europe's green, digital, socio-economic and geopolitical resilience. For each of these dimensions, the report identified our vulnerabilities and strengths, as well as the opportunities presented by the crisis. It painted a picture of what needs to be addressed in the medium to long term. But for this to work, we need to better monitor resilience. So we are proposing to move towards building resilience dashboards in cooperation with the member states and other key stakeholders. At the same time, we cannot afford to seek short-term fixes for the big challenges of today. The COVID-19 crisis has accelerated the twin green and digital transitions, with EU policy in these areas based on the European Green Deal and the new industrial strategy for Europe. EU industry will not be globally competitive until it becomes smarter and more sustainable. There is little doubt that investing in green growth is the only way forward. But we have not yet found the right balance. According to a recent OECD study of G20 countries, 47% of their support for energy goes to fossil fuels, compared to only 39% for clean energy. And public money alone cannot fulfill Europe's enormous need for green investment. An additional €260 billion is required to meet the current 2030 climate and energy targets, while €100 billion per year is needed to deliver on Europe's transport infrastructure. Companies must also consider how best to approach this transition. Next year, the Commission will present a renewed sustainable finance strategy to further embed sustainability into the corporate governance framework, as many firms still focus much on the short-term financial performance. Well-designed tax system based on the polluter pays principle play an important role in sustainable recovery and supporting the green transition. Environmental taxes help to provide price signals and incentives that encourage less polluting consumption. We also shouldn't forget that the green and digital transitions are inextricably linked. Digitalization has become a driving force of our economy and society, and we can no longer think about our environment policies without factoring it in. Digital technologies can be a powerful enabler for the green transition. But if we get it wrong, they can accelerate unsustainable patterns of consumption and production. If left unchecked, the digital sector's footprint could increase to 14% of global emissions. The EU is therefore committed to building a digital sector that puts sustainability at its heart. For this, the availability of raw materials is vital. Not only do 25 million manufacturing jobs in the EU depend on a secure supply of raw materials, but our needs are only going to grow. By 2050, for renewable energy, e-mobility, and defense and space alone, the EU is expected to need up to 60 times more lithium and 15 times more cobalt than the current supply for the entire economy. And demand for rare earth used in permanent magnets for electric vehicles, digital technologies, and wind generators could increase tenfold by 2050. Our Raw Materials Action Plan, published earlier this month, will help strengthen Europe's resilience, reduce our dependence on third countries, allow for EIB financing of domestic mining and processing projects, and influence the environmental and social sustainability of the supply chain. It sets out concrete steps to boost the EU's open strategic autonomy in an interconnected and interdependent world. These include promoting responsible mining practices for critical raw materials, both within the EU and in the context of international cooperation. We already have a solid legislative framework in place to ensure that mining takes place under environmentally and socially sound conditions. The European Innovation Partnership of Raw Materials underlines the need to improve communication and transparency to build public acceptance and trust throughout the production cycle. The European Partnership on Responsible Minerals helps mines to comply with EU regulations and OECD due diligence guidance. But ensuring our supply of raw materials can only be achieved by working together. EU institutions, member states, regions, industry, trade unions, civil society, research and technology organizations, investors, and NGOs. Industrial alliances are the key framework for this cooperation. The flag bearer for this is the European Battery Alliance, which I founded together with industrial actors in 2017 to develop an innovative, sustainable, and competitive battery value chains. 3 years on, and the EBA is already a resounding success. It showcases the 21st century approach to the industrial policy of the EU and its partners by combining support for strategic value chains in an integrated way with environmental objectives. The EBA has attracted more than 500 industrial actors and some 100 billion in investment in the drive to create a globally competitive and sustainable Europe battery industry, which we hope will provide up to 4 million jobs by 2025. It has turned Europe into battery hotspot. The sector saw over 60 billion in investment in 2019 across the whole value chain, more than 3 times as much as China, and we are at 25 billion already this year despite the upheaval caused by the crisis. But there is still more to be done. The Commission will put forward a proposal for a new EU batteries regulatory framework before the end of 2020. As with the EBA, each industry alliance, together with its corresponding industrial ecosystem, should integrate the raw materials dimension. But we still need to raise the level of sustainable sourcing, public acceptance, and innovation. This is the rationale for the European Raw Materials Alliance that will be launched tomorrow, which in the beginning will focus on one of the most pressing needs, increasing EU resilience along the rare earth and magnet value chain. This is vital to most of our industrial ecosystems, including renewable energy, defense, and space. Sustainable sourcing is a key part of the alliance. There are already plenty of examples of this in the member states. For example, the Finnish Network for Sustainable Mining provides a forum for companies operating in the mining industry to share information and advance more responsible mining practices. And Aalto University, our kind digital host for this conference, is one of the leading European centers for battery research and technologies. An active member of the EBA, Aalto is co-chairing the working group on raw materials and recycling. Together with researchers from other EU countries, they are identifying research gaps which could serve as an inspiration for the future Horizon Euro funding program. In addition, the BAT Circle consortium led by the university contributes to improving the raw materials production for batteries along the value chains from the primary raw materials production to recycling. To conclude, let me underline that strategic foresight can help inform the policies of today to ensure the green, digital, and fair Europe of tomorrow. And this is already being reflected in the cutting-edge work being done in the EU, including by many of you here today. I look forward to continuing our close cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President Maros Šefčovič, for this wonderful message of strategic foresight. Also the concrete activities about the Battery Alliance, and also the importance of Aalto University, which we are very proud of, coming from the Aalto University. You said that strategic foresight is about anticipating, it's about exploring, and it's about acting. And the third part, acting, is what it makes foresight strategic. So next, we are very happy to have here you, Markku Markkula, And without the further ado, we would love to hear how do we act here at Baltic Sea region strategically.
Thank you, Taina. Thank you very much. Before reacting a bit to what Maros Sefcovic said, so let me first congratulate all those hundreds of researchers, students, expert professionals, many others who have participated in the innovation camps and other activities during your project. But now first a few words about Foresight, because what Maros Sefcovic already said, so the Commission has just a couple of weeks ago published this first annual report on Foresight. And Foresight is not only for EU or for member state governments, but it's especially important for us politicians operating on the local and regional level. We should analyze that more deeper, and let's put it this way, we could take a lot of the key elements out of this report and link to, as an example, what we've already, through the European Committee of the Regions, what we've organized jointly with the European Parliament and European Research Centre, the Science Meet Regions practices, pilot projects, and implementing, starting to understand what this latest research, Foresight research, strategic research, what that can have, what kind of impact that can have on our own case. And that is important, as Maros pointed out, so there is a huge amount of new knowledge, and that is especially targeted to be used at the local and regional level for resilience, for sustainable growth, and on that, so we definitely need to share that knowledge locally, but as well build more European-wide partnerships based on that. So this is important for us. So we need to take, let's say, even create societal innovations, how we could organize that activities around in Europe. But let me then move on this, what Tana, you were calling for and Maros was calling for. What are the concrete activities around the Baltic states? And it's always better to take some examples that the person describing that is very familiar with. And let me first stress from the whole Helsinki region perspective. We have started, actually agreed already close to 2 years ago that we want to be carbon neutral by 2035. And now, during this year, we've collaborated heavily with the industry, with all experts of climate development, both scientists, but as well as research institutions, universities, and industry, large and small, and how to tackle that. And we are just on our way as the Regional Council to build our roadmap to be carbon neutral throughout the whole region with our municipalities. Some of the municipalities, like the city of Espoo, my own home city, we have already speeded up so that we want to be carbon neutral by 2030. So 5 years earlier than the whole region, and several years earlier than the EU wants to be or is planned to be. But let's take how we can make that to happen. First, get rid of using coal in our district heating. And that will happen in the collaboration with the city and with many of our companies, and above all with Fortum, the largest energy company in Nordic northern countries. And Fortum, they have their head office in Espoo, and they run our district heating system. And we've agreed so that around in 5 years' time, they can stop using coal in the power plants. What does that mean and what does that require? We need to take, let's say, or we need to implement around a dozen parallel activities starting with using all the energy what we can get from waste management, and wastewater treatments, building on that. We are taking in active use a lot new geothermal energy. SD1, one of the companies operating here, so they made a special exercise going close to 7 kilometers deep on the ground, and using the heat that they can get through that, and that will be then covering about 10% of the whole energy needs of my city Espoo. And we have a lot of other similar activities, not going that deep, but a few hundred meters, and through them we can really take the renewable geothermal energy in use in buildings and in the whole district heating system. We take more measures on biofuel and several other initiatives, including kind of systemizing the energy grid, so that with the help of modern technology, more can be utilized, options that are on that. And let me take another example, because we need to that in, let's say, in large scale in active use. One of the regions inside the city that we are operating very much during the next 10 years is the district called Kera, that is in the crossroads of the railway, the motorway and regional ring 2. And actually it's most known at the moment that the Nokia international head office is located there with their research center. But it's as well a region kind of totaling to 200 hectares, where a lot of traditional industries, logistics and so have been located. And now they are moving out from, let's say, this part of the city. And that means that we can build that the whole area as a platform for digital economy, using latest 5G technology, then using the new poles, not only for lightning, but building what we are actually there today with the companies, Nokia and many other companies, and the city already testing 250 sensors, different sensors, taking the regularly the data and information from all that area, and that is used for all of the new developments to build that as an example of the circular economy forerunner and how people can operate with the latest technology on this digital platform. So citizens are heavily engaged on that as well. So we have a lot of these kind of exercises going on in Finland, and I'm sure elsewhere in Europe, but we should now, as Maros Sefcovic was challenging us, we should really collaborate more locally. We should do more international partnerships using the latest knowledge, so that we can implement the new solutions created in one part of Europe, in other parts of Europe as well. So these are kind of policy guidance that we, the citizens, we, the decision makers, we need to do with the citizens and with all the businesses operating in our cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Markku Markkula. Simply wonderful and concrete. As you said, the cities here can clearly be the sustainable models, role models for others around the world. And the cities and regions are aiming higher, which is also important. We are now welcoming Alexandra Reinoldi from European Commission, responsible about the territorial development and smart specialization in Europe. And we are very excited here to hear your view and status of smart specialization. So Alexandra, the floor is yours. Welcome, Sevilla.
Hello, good morning to everybody. It's an honor for me to be part of this opening session of this very important event on the Baltic Sea region, and on how we can achieve together sustainable economic transformation. I would like to thank both Taina and Marco. I cannot compete with their fantastic window open to the Finnish woods. But okay, this is what I can offer now. It's my home office, I would say. I would like just to make to give you a few lines of thought about smart specialization. Vice President Šefčovič has greatly pointed out the key political ambitions of the von der Leyen Commission in terms of green and digital transition and of transformation of European territories. Marco Marcola has zoomed very cleverly on the achievements and potentials of the Baltic Sea region. I would like to spend a few minutes on smart specialization, which is part of this of today's discussion. And back in 2014, when smart specialization was introduced as an ex-ante conditionality to spend ERDF money on innovation, well, we had there was a big question mark ahead of us, in the sense that when something is an ex-ante conditionality, it might stay on paper or it might fly. It might be a genuine change in the way policies are made and implemented in regions and cities. And I think that smart specialization has been a successful example of how we can think of dealing with innovation in the specific in a kind of different way, putting together elements that might not be as such rocket science, but put together, make a very meaningful and sound methodology in order to put together scientific knowledge, evidence, foresight, together with knowledge coming from communities and stakeholders in order to build together the path towards a sustainable future for our territories. I think that this is the moment to think back of what have been the achievements of smart specialization in our own regions, in the places where we live or where we act, it's a good occasion to make one step forward. Now, smart specialization can really be a trigger, a catalyzer to trigger transformation in places. So go beyond the local level, but actually put together local ambitions, local potentials with global challenges. Vice President Šefčovič talked about the twin transitions, the green and the digital transition. I would add the Sustainable Development Goals to it. These are three main topics that are intimately interrelated to each other, but can be our compass in order to achieve the transformation, the transition in our regions and cities on the basis of what each single territory, each single community can give and can take. So tailoring the ambitions, tailoring the actions to the capacities and the potential. And this is something that smart specialization can help do. We have witnessed, we as Joint Research Center, as Smart Specialization Platform, we have witnessed in the Baltic Sea region a tradition of collaboration, a tradition of discussing, putting together thoughts and challenges, co-creating. We have participated to innovation camps, to peer exchange and learning action. We have seen regions across the Baltic Sea participating, taking part, leading thematic smart specialization cross-regional partnerships. Well, I think that this is a great starting point. And I would like to see this today's discussions as not only the final event of the Baltic Sea Region Smart Up project, but actually a starting point to shift the curve of smart specialization a bit higher, and put together what we have learned so far and move it forward, and genuinely think that we can achieve transformation, we can achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, localizing them, putting them, operationalizing them in our places, in what we do and what we think altogether that we can do. And I'm looking forward to the discussions today to see exactly how we can do that, and the ways it can be this challenge can be concretely implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alessandro, Reinoldi. And thank you so much, Markku and Maros Sefcovic. I think so that we have now time to move on and close this opening panel. We will discuss later. And let's move now to the next panel of the role of the policies and political decision makers and making. And as Ale said, aiming higher. So Markku, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me now moderate the next session. And there we now take more perspective, the role of decision making, and especially how that should come into the European collaboration on the Baltic Sea. And in addition to that, so we'll have a view on how that can be taken, this what Alexandra Reinoldi told. And we can start this discussion by the introduction to General Joint Research Center and their role in, especially in SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. We have here with us Monika Matusiak. She's in charge of this SDGs in the European Joint Research Center. So Monika, you are the next.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this kind introduction as well. It is really an honor to be for me to be here. This important event, looking at the Baltic Sea is really a region that sustainability challenge is obvious. And looking at the fact that what I'm working on with many of our colleagues is how to rethink smart specialization. So it's not only, as it was defined at the very beginning of this concept, the knowledge-based economic transformation agenda, but it is smart specialization for sustainability and for sustainable development goals. So I think those two parts, the natural interest of Baltic Sea region and our interest in sustainability can really be a very, very good match, especially that what we have done at the very beginning of our work, when we try to figure out how to match those two concepts, we have looked what European and not only European cities, regions, member states already do. What kind of priorities they have in smart specialization strategies that were adopted for the period 2014-2020. And what we discovered is that there's a lot of them, as far as I remember, over 180 specific priorities that can be directly matched to sustainability challenges already. So even though the process wasn't originally designed really to cater for full or all the three dimensions of sustainable development, on the other hand, the results of the bottom-up process really contribute to the priorities that are important for communities, for different communities, and they are sustainable. And actually, looking at the case studies we have collected and found, they also include countries and regions that are part of the Baltic Sea. We have at national level, we have great examples from Norway, for example. We have Lapland at regional level and the city of Espoo that was already mentioned today at the urban level, because what we are trying to look at is also how can we mobilize to achieve sustainable development goals at very different territorial levels, and also at the level of cross-regional and international collaboration, because we all know that Agenda 2030, the global goals, they are overwhelming. They are the huge effort that is probably beyond the reach of any single community, but on the other hand, for them to work, they need to be translated into specific contexts. As also Alexandra mentioned before me, we need to localize them. We need to understand what does this grand global agenda mean in our specific territory, and how we can deal with the challenges it poses. So we have engaged some time ago, already in 2018, in the dialogue with United Nations Interagency Task Team on the Science, Technology and Innovation Roadmaps for Sustainable Development Goals that is trying to look for approaches, methodologies, and to formulate methodologies how to use science, technology, and innovation for the achievement of sustainable development goals. And I'm quite proud to say, I must say, that smart specialization is now officially recognized as one of the methodologies that can facilitate this development. So on our side, what we've been trying to do is to not only recognize that we already have in Europe and beyond smart specialization priority domains that contribute to SDGs, but also to try to more meaningfully include this sustainability dimension in the whole design and implementation process of smart specialization strategy. So we are now in the middle of the pilot program, developing pilot methodology, how to have SDG dimension already in the analytical stage, later on in the definition of projects, in the monitoring indicators, and so on and so on. So I think it can only recommend and ask the more and more colleagues representing countries, regions, cities, and partnerships who are present here to try to join this effort and to help us build the new smart specialization that really caters for sustainability dimension, especially that the way we see European Green Deal, if we really think about it, is that Green Deal can be conceptualized as already localization at the European level, at the level of whole European Union of Agenda 2030. This is how Europe wants to deliver Agenda 2030. So I think it is only valid that we all try to join this effort together. And maybe the very last thing I would like to say is how important it is that and we follow the discussion that's already started in Europe, that the crisis of COVID and the difficulties that we have encountered all over the world, really, they should help us really rethink growth and think about new sustainable resilience. And this is the area where we really want smart specialization to go, how it can help us think and mobilize innovation, science, technology, knowledge, to find new and better solutions to not only economic, but also societal and environmental challenges. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Thank you for your, let's say, guidance. Now it's time to take start our journey around the Baltic Sea region, and listening to our, let's say, decision makers, what they plan to do, what they have already done. And as Monica and Alexandra said, so the Joint Research Center, especially, they are supporting this work. So this is not the final end, but this is the start of the journey towards resilience, or let's put it resilient and sustainable growth. in all parts of the Baltic Sea region and elsewhere in Europe. Okay, but let's start from Germany, and I will give now the floor to Rainer Kneifel-Haverkamp. You are the Director General for European and International Affairs from the Ministry of Finance in Brandenburg. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marco. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for the occasion to talk to you today. I think I want to make basically two remarks. I would like to mention one specific example where I think we have managed to make major progress also in the context of Baltic Sea cooperation with regard to the Potsdam Science Park. And the other aspect I want to mention are new sort of strategic developments in the region in a more sort of overall way. Potsdam Science Park has been largely developed with ERDF funding. It comprises like 2,500 researchers, 9,000 students from Potsdam University, and several large-scale extramural research institutes from Max Planck Society, from the Fraunhofer Society, and so on. It has, I think, world-class research, but it has, in spite of an incubator that was placed there about 15 years ago, very little economic activity. In 2015, we started a comparative analysis of the development potential of the park as compared to Scandinavian innovation hubs. We did that funded from the ERDF technical assistance. In this analysis, which was largely based on a dialogue between the key stakeholders in Brandenburg, in the city and the park, with partners from Scandinavian innovation hubs, what we created in the end was a roadmap how we can bring about a transformation from the science park to a true innovation hub, internationally well connected and economically successful. And in implementing the task force, we set up a task force with an increased engagement from the regional government and the city of Potsdam, and overall better cooperation. Maybe if we did learn something from the discussions with the Scandinavian partners, it was about how to better cooperate and actually also how it is more fun. The result was that the Ministry of Economy provided major funding for a beefed up park management, which allowed us to hire a fantastic CEO who used to be responsible for the startup support from the Technical University of Berlin. The city of Potsdam agreed to construct a second incubator. The city of Potsdam set up a joint company together with the university as a basis for the park management, and engaged heavily in developing and marketing real estate, which was available to some extent because quite a lot has been sold now. All of this resulted in an increased investment from private real estate companies in the park area. So we look forward to the completion of one private office and laboratory building. The city incubator, I think, will follow soon, and it's really great to see the cranes and the buildings going up. So in terms of international networking, I think the SMARTer project, in which we participate in close cooperation with the park management, has been instrumental in improving networks in particular with Baltic Sea actors. And it has also been recognized as the University of Potsdam has been awarded major funding for an innovative university based on the fact that it is now so well linked to other locations. In the next year, I think we will, as I said, see major developments in terms of real estate and availability of office and laboratory buildings. So we expect numerous companies to be able to locate or to relocate to the science park, and not for us to lose more startups to Berlin. I think the targets that have been set in the roadmap for 2025 will largely be met. And we're currently working on revamping the strategy and the roadmap and continuing it to for the next 10 years. So that much about the Golem project. Probably what I want to add is also that the Golem project and the experience in sort of bringing all the stakeholders together and also with outside support will have a major impact, I believe, on ERDF programming for the next funding period. I think what we intended from the start, that should be a pilot project from which the other areas can and should learn in the region. I think will really be implemented. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that there are new approaches to strategy development overall, of more integrated strategy for regional development, innovation, sustainability, and digitalization. With regard to that, a new planning department has been set up in the State Chancellery, so the Prime Minister's office, which brings together all these areas I mentioned. It basically will further develop an approach that we had in the past on focusing on core regional growth areas, which were basically sort of developed from a competition between municipalities in the region. And now, just as Alessandro mentioned, we will now leave the municipal approach to innovation ecosystem and sort of look at a more regional perspective. And I'm very optimistic that we will have interesting outcomes there. In this department is also located cooperation with Berlin. And as I hear one of the staff they have hired and who will start working on their department next month has deep knowledge of Baltic Sea innovation ecosystems. And so I look forward to much more cooperation on innovation and sustainability and regional development in the Baltic Sea region. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rainer. I'm really pleased that you described the different political instruments that you have been using, and especially showing how Brandenburg has used the European Regional Development Funds. So you are a very good example of that. I always remember several of my own visits as well to Brandenburg, how I've been contributing at that time as the president of the European Committee of the Region, your ministers, so that to get a strong political move ahead to do what we at that time we called first the benchmarking Brandenburg and Helsinki region, but we've definitely moved to bench learning. So we've learned a lot from each other. And now maybe in the years to come, it should be the bench acting. So more concrete actions, what these two regions, region around Berlin and the regions around Helsinki can do together. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, I unfortunately need to announce that Sille Kram from Estonia, she cannot participate today, but we then move to another smaller Baltic state. We now move to Latvia. We have here now Gunnars Ansins. He's the Deputy Chair for Development and Cooperation of Liepāja City Council from Latvia. So, Gunnars, now the floor is yours, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this beautiful discussion and sharing experience from Potsdam. In fact, Berlin is a little bit also my heart. I spent a couple of years in Berlin studying in the Free University of Berlin. For me, it's a very special moment, and I heard there's cooperation opportunities in this region. But of course, today the topic itself is very crucial for all Europe itself. And usually we are discussing what is specialization itself. And a couple of days ago, I had a discussion with inhabitants, and they explained me in a very simple way. What is specialization? It's like in military. The Navy is always Navy. They know how to be a Navy boys. The people who are working in Air Force, they're usually having a different dress code. And of course, the people who are guarding our lands is soldiers. But at the same time, from this discussion, I would like to say it's very important to understand that we need all defense system, all instruments which is protecting cities and protecting also regions in the Europe. For example, in Liepāja case, the city is the second biggest town in Latvia, which had very, I would like to say, difficult past. It was one of the biggest Navy base in Soviet Union. So almost 1/3 of area was used only for Navy. But at the same time, we used to have a very strong steel company producing tons and tons of steel products and textile company. And today we are facing the fact that we are willing to change our thinking, change our area for future needs of the city. For example, in a former military side, providing all investment to create different environment for tourists, for inhabitants, for living space. We do not believe the steel company will be reopened today again. Therefore, with different sources, right now we are planning how this very large area which belongs today in a city hands could have this transformation process. Our dream is to redevelop this area as the greenest industrial park in Europe. Of course, we understand it will not happen in 1 week or 1 day, but at the same time, right now we start with very precise planning process and attracting private investors to realize our dream. And step-by-step approach, making, I would like to say, paste and copies from best practice what we have in the city of Liepāja, best practice what we have in Europe, best practice what we have in the United States. We are redeveloping those concepts of industrial development in the city. I'm working with private investors for more than 20 years. And I would like to say also investment and investors are changing. If I remember the time in 80s, 90s, investors was willing to see from the city side only basic things like, we have a street, do you have a water, do you have a gas connection, etc. Today, investors are changing their mind. They're asking for quality of life. We have a theater in town. We have an orchestra hall. What about education? What about housing? And the city itself, they have to provide this type of services. More green, more culture, more educated city. I remember the times when cities was competing with each other, the cheapest land plot for investor. Today, I would like to say the cities are fighting for brains, how to bring in smart cities, smart people in a town, how to change rest thinking. And I would like to say there is no one formula for smart integration. We need to have and create a very integrated approach. The best approach which is possible to discuss, understand in a society and also in the world itself. Because the people itself in a town are very different. On one hand, they're willing to see the green and the best environment. On the other hand, all ports in the Baltic Sea region have to provide also the economic benefit for the town, including transportation, including logistics. Therefore, I would like to say, Marko, thank you for this opportunity to share my experience. And if you have any questions, I will be happy and more than happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Gunnar. So good that you brought the strong role of investors and how the investing landscape has changed and will change, of course. But now let's move on to the southwest part of Baltic Sea. We have the next speaker contributor is Sten Bording Andersen from Aarhus, the city that as well I visit several times, and especially proud, or I can see you being proud of your many cultural activities. You yourself, Sten, you are now the chair of the culture committee of the city of Aarhus, and of course the city council member and the committee of the regional member in Europe. So Sten, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marko. And welcome here in Aarhus. I'm standing in Dock 1, our main library, who has a lot of digital opportunities for all of the community. And it's a pleasure for me to take part of this discussion. First of all, I would say some words about the infrastructure that we have that we have built up here in Aarhus. And then I'll give some practical example of how this working together have made some impact in our society. In Aarhus, we were one of the first Danish municipality with an open platform, an open data platform, and now we are chairing the national initiative in this area. And we are also the national test bed for the next generation of positioning technology, and their urban robotics are a major project in this. We are also the first, one of the first cities in Europe to have an Internet of Things structure, and we have an outdoor city lab. These are things that are needed, a digital infrastructure, you could say, to have some results in this area. But what will we do with this digital infrastructure? We, for example, have a yearly festival, Aarhus Festival, and in this, we also experiment with the city space. We cut down some spaces for traffic, and then we can monitoring how the traffic will float in the rest of the city. And for that, we need the tools from digitization. And it gives us, as a city council member, good opportunities to make investments for a more sustainable traffic in the future, and for a more floating infrastructure. We also, as I mentioned, we have an outdoor robotic cluster. We have there, we're trying to create a robot that can pick up cigarette butts. It's important that, and for that we need digital positioning. And it would be a good way of getting a cleaner city and way of using the technology in a good way. We also put in digital things, digital goals in our plans, in our climate plan. We have a very ambitious climate plan, and we need data and monitoring from the digital area, but also in our business plan, because we have a lot of businesses that are working with these kind of things, and also in our smart city strategy. So it's very relevant to have this cooperation and to have the right infrastructure for it. Another very concrete example is that we have a new cross-regional tech center. There we have people meeting, companies, knowledge institutions, and of course institutions, public institutions, and they sit together in a regional level and talk and try to find new solutions. And of course, it's very important for us to be a part of this kind of cooperation. So we are in a lot of different cooperation international. We are in the Open and Agile Smart City. We have the Intelligent City Challenge, and we are part of European Digital Innovation Hub. This international approach gives us the opportunity to learn a lot, to be better, and to exchange new ideas, like we do today, but of course in another way. And we're very pleased that Aalto University have found our way to do that very constructive, and we're pleased that very much. The last thing I would add is that we have an ambitious goal on the climate. We want to be CO2 non-emissional in 2030, and that's for all of the country. It's scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, not just for the institutions that the municipality are in charge of, but of the whole area. Therefore, we need people to get engaged in these things, and we need technology to get out and reach out for people, to get them informed, and to also to participate in discussions. And we need that, and we couldn't do it without an internet structure. So to reach CGO goals as we have in our every plan in our municipality, we need the technology to do it. And this project is a very good example of how we can do it, and we learn a lot of how to do it by sharing by you. I think it must be concluding my first perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I really want to stress to all of the participants, if you have not yet visited the library in Aarhus, so you should definitely do that. It's a really place where you see all around activities going on by young people, senior citizens, kind of kindergarten activities, of course students, and many, many others. But now let's move to Finland. We have the next speaker is Sari Rautio. She's the Vice President of the Finnish Association of Municipalities. So Sari, the floor is yours. And she's a member of the Committee of the Regions in EU.
Thank you, Markku, and good morning, everyone, and greetings from sunny Hämeenlinna, the we are here in 100 kilometers up north from Helsinki, so in the southern Finland. Yes, thank you so much to have this possibility to join into this interesting discussion. And I must say that I have had the opportunity to visit the library in Aarhus, and it's really something to worth visiting. And I think that when we talk about the smart specialization and also about the just transition and everything like this, actually the libraries have something in their DNA that we should use, and to see how the libraries have been able to change. And I think there is something very wise in that. So just to point out this first. But thank you so much. All the previous speakers have already given up really good examples and ideas what is to be done. And for the first, I'd like to point out that the COVID-19 crisis has shown us that a quick transition is possible when we must do it. And now I think we should take all the courage we got out from this COVID-19 crisis and all the examples and learnings from that we have to keep up the same speed that we've been doing under this weird time of COVID-19. For the first, I think a most important thing is to have the common goals. If we want to achieve something big, we have to have the common goals which we work on together, and goals have to be something that none of us can do by ourselves, but we need each other. And as already mentioned, the SDGs obviously is globally the good. Also the good language for the common goals, but it's also something we have to build, we can easily build on. Secondly, when we have the common goals, no matter if it's in your own state or in your own region or in the Baltic Sea region or in the European Union level, you have to have the measurable goals also. What is the actual change you want to have? This is very important. We tend, at least here in Finland, our idea tends to go too quickly towards what we are actually doing. But we have to do this good work before we actually start the deeds. And then it comes to, we have to be able to measure the impact we want to have. And I think this is very important. And that's why I'm very pleased that the Green Deal actually seems to have the same idea, that we have to be able to measure also the change. So next, let me give you some examples from here from Finland, what our cities and local authorities have already done in order to reach the sustainable economic transition and sustainable transition altogether. First of all, I want to point out the city of Tampere, which is again a bit north from here, from the city of Hämeenlinna, and they've had this year for the first time the climate budgeting included into the normal budgeting of the city. And I think it's very important and very wise idea what they've done in Tampere is that the climate transition or the climate budgeting is not something separate from the everything what is done in the city, but it's included there. But then you can also follow from that budgeting way. You can check what all the things that you do in the city, how do they affect towards these climate in terms of climate, and also when we talk about Tampere in Finland, we always have to mention also the city of Turku, and which is another big city of ours in the western coast. And the city of Turku has climate strategy so that 2029 already they want to be carbon neutral, which is a very big. Of course, a big goal and not so easy to achieve. But I must say that as important as it is to have the common goals, the goals must also be big enough. And in the city of Turku, they have really interesting and also going through all the cities. All the things that is going on in the city and in the whole ecosystem of the Turku area. So these two cities. Sorry, did somebody say?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. In these two examples, the big thing is not only cooperation in the ecosystem, but co-creation. And I think it's very important for the local authorities to understand that they can't just by themselves to make the goals, but we have to also have all the stakeholders when we actually create the goals, so that the goals will be actually co-created together. And this might seem a small thing, but actually it's a really big thing, because then we all at the same time we learn together at the same time. The third example I want to give is the changing of the use of wind power. And it's not in many municipalities in Finland. The wind power is actually giving to the municipalities new tax incomes, as well at the same time, of course, the greener energy. So that's also a good idea when you think about the impact. You have to think of different areas and different ways of achieving the results. And then in my city, the city of Hämeenlinna, we also have our program of carbon neutral Hämeenlinna, and our goal is in 2035, as it is in all Finland. And one example from my city is the reuse of soil, and we've had really good examples. As we just built a few weeks ago a new parking lot by using the old soil coming from other parts of the city, and that was both economical and ecological, very wise thing to do. And we have nice examples of that also in other cities. The last but not least is the city of Lappeenranta, who have been working a lot together with their local university, and I must say that their ecosystem, the system where the innovation system and ecosystem is very interesting and important, and they have been working a lot by building special systems they can also import also to Africa and everywhere elsewhere. So I'd like to finish that we are here in Finland. I'm very happy to say that we are very committed as a country, as Finland, to these common goals and to this European new way of working together, co-creating. But also, what I find very, very important, and what is very interesting and important in the Baltic Sea region, is that we need to have the local authorities, the local actions, the local stakeholders to work and make their own goals, even though there would be a slight change of the years mentioned or how to start with the activities. I think it's very important that we always do the local task, the local ways of working, in order to get everyone and also the people involved into the very important transition made. So we need action in all levels. Thank you so much, and let's go on with the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sari. And let me now just in brief draw up a kind of summary of this journey around the Baltic Sea. I made my own notes listening to you all. And first key point is planning and actions are increasingly based on knowledge, collaboration, and sharing good practices. Definitely that was in all of your contributions. My second summary point is that sustainable development really needs to be a guiding principle in all decision making, public and private, of course, but as Sari just mentioned, including budgeting, and as we had from Mr. Ansin, so the investments. So all budgeting and investment processes need to be looked from the sustainability perspective. My third point is that learning is the key. Libraries, learning or lifelong learning as effective ways to embed sustainability in all societies. The fourth key point is referring to Maros Sefcovic. Foresight should be organized for us not separately in a national level by the governments or parliaments, but we should integrate that to our regional and city level work as well. So let's spend some time in the future on that, how we around the Baltic Sea region could do foresight together, and then link that to circular economy, sharing economy, raw materials, and many of the others. Fifth key point is really on research and on that, so it's multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, research as an increasing source of knowledge and also know-how. And there we need to integrate to this work strongly the research centers and universities. And sixth point is kind of summing up that sustainability needs to be the new normal for all communities, all businesses and individuals. So the role of citizens and citizen awareness and citizen commitment is crucial on that. And all in all, the general summing up that we need foresight cities, large cities, small cities, towns, villages, in co-creating their local innovation ecosystem, and through that then targeting more and more the societal innovations and implementing those in reality. So thank you for this part of today's contributions and discussions. We'll now have a short video before we move to the, let's say, the highlight of today, the launching of the Smart Up project summary book. So the video, please.
Welcome back and welcome to our book launch. It is a great pleasure to have the book out of the press, which we have done together with all stakeholders, with all of you actually who are listening this launch. You all will receive the book later today. We believe that this book will contribute to bringing the Baltic Sea region together, as we have been inspired a lot by writing this book. We hope that this book will inspire you for the new thoughts, for action, in many of you actually working with the different developments in the Baltic Sea region. So this book is titled, as you can see, Sustainable Baltic Sea Region Towards Economic Transformation by Smart Specialisation Strategies. So Patricia Hongisto is joining with me to the book launch. So we are introducing the book to you together. And of course, our wish is that these books will be a tool and inspiration how to achieve our joint success in the future. So what has been the motivation to write this book? So as we heard in the panels, morning panels earlier, we have been discussing the future opportunities of the Baltic Sea region, and this book, which we are launching, will resonate with your thoughts we have been raising. So we will also show you a couple of graphs from the books. So the book will have, in addition of covers, also the graphical design in all chapters. Let's hope that this is moving. Anyways, this book, the aim was to invite each of us as family members of the Baltic Sea region to be the guests at 9 of the Baltic Sea region's regional stories. These regions have shared their work, their strategies, what's important to them in terms of policies, in terms of actions, in terms of capabilities, in terms of competencies and competitiveness. So many regions and countries in the Baltic Sea region have intensively working to speed up sustainable economic transformation. In this book, we have looked behind the scenes, and we have also analyzed what actually has been done in each of these regions, representing each Baltic Sea region country. And we have looked at how we have implemented the Smart Specialisation Strategies. It has been inspiring for us in writing this book to reflect on how regional organizations have been paving the way to the economic transformation. And it has been inspiring for each region to read what the other regions have been done to activate smart specialization. Also, as discussed earlier in the morning about the SDGs, this is a book about the SDGs in Baltic Sea region. We all want to know how these SDGs have been embedded in the regional policies in order to become sustainable regions in concrete terms. In short, by working together with these 9 represented regions, we have intended to get an insight into how smart specialization strategies and sustainability affect the future prospects of the Baltic Sea region. Now, actually, Patricia tell a little bit about how the book was done. Patricia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Taina. Yes, it's a great pleasure to have this out of press. And how was the book done? Well, in addition to, you will find a lot of graphs, indicators, statistics, but you will also find the stories of these 9 regions. So it has been done in collaboration. It has been done as a work together with our colleagues from the regions that are represented. What we wanted to know was to have an overview of the Smart Specialisation Strategy spearheads and what the themes and the thematic developments that were chosen actually meant for the regions. This will be also summarized in terms of graphics, so the stories have received a lot of color in addition to the text. One question that really was guiding us was how do the regions actually work together? And while engaging in their stories, we kept that in the back of our mind. How can the regions become stronger together? How can they prepare to use jointly the opportunities that they can create together. And it was exciting to see, for example, how regions that have very strong maritime and logistic industry, how their strategies brought in the sustainability, the digitalization, circular economy, and research and science. So, as we have heard also this morning, it's a combination of all these elements. And this came strongly through the stories, so that's why, as Taina already said, it was exciting for us to see how this was happening in the stories and how the revisions actually were guiding these new spearheads or themes. But at the same time, we saw that each region, however high the aspiration, they needed new expertise, talents, and human capital. And this led us to ask another question, which we'll actually be discussing later. You know, how can they develop their capabilities and how should they go about it in terms of capacity building? So this is a long project described in how it actually emerged through the collaboration of these stories that our regions provided in terms of smart specialization.
Thank you, Patricia. You already described that what does this all mean for us. So, as you said, regions are different, and there's a variety of ways tackling very similar global challenges, but also they are different and the contexts are different.
Yeah.
So the analysis for these regions is different in each of the regions, and each of the regions need to think about and balance their economic development strategies. Therefore, we have done the thorough analysis. We get closer to the regions and their work. We also triggered how to examine the balance in the strategies, in the actions, in competencies, capabilities, but also in the competitiveness, how the regions are actually then competing each others, but also globally. And which way they are doing, how do they operate, how do they lead, what are their cultures are. We call it strategic diamond analysis, and strategic diamond is actually a very powerful tool to tell everything in balance and order, strategy, actions, capabilities, and then the competitiveness approach. So this has been inspired and triggered for us to look at the actions more deeper, the policies more deeper, and what does that mean for the people in those of the regions. And what does that mean for the industry? So is there really what we say in line, what do we do? So we really recommend you to read the book. And of course, we hope that you feel as inspired as we were. Let's hope so. About, of course, the tensions of the diversities. Baltic Sea region is very diverse. There are different levels, regional, national, different identities, different ways to do the policies and implementing actions. And of course, this leads to the major finding, which is that the sustainability could be the driving force for economic transformation in Baltic Sea region. Climate change, digital and green, as Maros Sefcovic said in the opening. We have also arrived at the conclusions that SDGs should be embedded in the strategies, which make them and transition easier and stronger. Also, we were very fascinated about those incredible attempts to engage many stakeholders and to be inclusive especially in the revision processes of the strategies, and balancing the spearheads thematics, meaning the action activities, like the battery activity is one of those. This is an advantage in future prospect, this sustainability and concrete actions for cross-regional collaborations. But if you, Patricia, continue a little bit about the key messages.
Well, as a key message, I think everyone that will read the book, the collaboration is going to be strong because of the variety, as you already mentioned. Collaboration will help the region to leverage both on the commonalities but also on the diverging issues. And having this put together and combined will create the balance. So we have as a result of the strategy of the diamond, of the regional strategy diamond, the balance. And it's a balance that is needed in the multi-governmental, multi-stakeholder in the different levels of governance. And regions will benefit from the collaboration in balance towards their goal. And collaboration will create stronger clusters. It will increase opportunities for the SMEs. It will include a thriving population. And this will help turn the policies towards sustainability into action and create smarter environments. So this is what I think we learned from this engagement with these 9 regions, and I hope it will be a path for future success for each region separately, but also of the Baltic Sea together.
Yes, thank you. And of course, we need to mention that there is lots of detailed information in the book. So it's around 250 pages. And each of the regions, thank you for the regions and cities. You have compiled the piles of the papers and strategies and actions for the analysis of each of the regions. So I really recommend you to read even these regional stories. So, and there are also other statistics as well in the book. But we are more and more convinced that the actions toward the sustainability foster the future of the Baltic Sea regions. Of course, there's still lots to do, we must say. There's lots of talk, but not so much actions. But they will come. And that's the purpose of this event. So as Alexandra said in the morning, that let's continue and aim higher. That should be the target of all of us in the future. So if we are looking overall the Baltic Sea region, there is a strong base for research and innovation. If we are looking our environment, Helsinki, Espoo, Aalto University. If we are looking Denmark, Aarhus University and Brandenburg, Berlin, Brandenburg, Stockholm, Tallinn, and so forth. And we have the powerhouses. Even actually the statistics shows that innovation powerhouses are in this region. And then, if we are looking other regions, they are gearing it up. So capacity building, as Patricia mentioned, is extremely important. And maybe there's a possibility that they even aim higher than us. So that should be the target for capacity building. We believe that this Baltic Sea region can maintain the course towards sustainable transformation through collaboration. And this cross-regional collaboration is vital for the future balance in the Baltic Sea region, and also could be the purpose for the whole macro region as such. So we have learned that the building the capacity of those of you who steer the action will show the way into the future. It's extremely important. It's not yet the norm. It should be continued. Enjoy the learning. But let's start now with the Inge. Our aim in this session is to discuss how to lead and govern in the 21st century and how to actually attract different communities, identities, youth, and how to create also well-being and belonging. Inge, you have a long experience in doing so. So, Inge, the floor is yours. Welcome, Inge. Welcome, UK.
Well, thank you, Taina, for the invitation to be here, and congratulations to all of you on the book. I mean, it's very timely to have that happen. And it's been very interesting to listen this morning. I must say, listening to Mara Stevčević about the foresight that is required. And I thought, gosh, what a lovely title, Vice President of Foresight. That's what we need more of, right? And, you know, what does it mean to be future fit? And that's exactly the same question that Sally Rani, my co-founder, and I asked ourselves when we set up Global Choices. Because, yes, we have these wonderful challenges defined for us through the SDGs, through Paris, and COVID, of course, has given us a certain tailwind on these. These have been taken to heart, and it's been exceptionally interesting to listen to how these are being implemented at a local and regional level. But at the very same time, we realize that we also have to reframe ourselves in the context of global citizens taking responsibility for the global commons. And these are the big systems that actually keep us alive. So the oceans, the atmosphere, the ice caps, these, unless we really take care of these in totality at the same time, we are at risk, we put at risk all this wonderful innovation that so much effort is going into. So risk and resilience go hand in hand, I think. And the more we researched this, and we took a really deep dive into risk, and we realized that actually even amongst the environmental activities, there is very little prioritization. Yes, we're taking plastics out the ocean, we're planting trees up the gazoo, we're innovating, we're creating new ways of doing things, but at the same time, on our watch, we have lost, between the two poles, 6.4 trillion tons of ice. And this is continuing. If you want to see what global warming is looking like, look at the poles. You know, they are already at 2 degrees. And this is continuing at a pace that is hugely alarming and hugely threatening to all of us. So we have made it our task to really promote the global commons, promote global citizens taking responsibility, but also prioritizing within those the Arctic and the Antarctic. And of course, the Baltics have such proximity to the polar ice and the Arctic polar ice, which holds 7% of the world's fresh water. And as we know, and you know far better than I do because it's on your doorstep, how quickly that is melting. So I would also encourage us to have a lens that takes the bigger picture, because it will have an enormous consequence, not only on sea level rise. I mean, just if Greenland goes, looking at 7 meters, and so don't build on the coast, but also on the economies, fishing, on migration, because the sea, this is not exclusive to this region, of course. What happens in the Arctic will happen elsewhere and will create massive food insecurity and will create massive migration. So, the cooler areas are going to be incredibly popular. So one can anticipate what will happen. That's part of the foresight. And then the other question we had was, who are we doing this for? And yes, of course, for our current generation, but in particular for the next generations. And so we felt that, youth have made themselves very visible through Climate Fridays and the marches, and it's been amazing how much they have embraced the notion of global citizenship. But, it's not an addendum, it's not a side issue, having young people. Let's make young people the heart of the decision making too. It's their future we're principally doing this for. And so we created a network called Arctic Angels, which is genuinely intergenerational dialogue. And it's on equal terms. We learn as much from them as they learn from us. We mentor them. And I do feel that this inclusion is critical, not just as, well, we have a youth arm or we consult young people. Actually put them on the boards, get them and hear their voices, listen to them. And at the same time, ensure that we also hear other voices, Indigenous voices, for instance, because what we need now is not only head knowledge and technology, we also need wisdom. And so much of this wisdom is inherent in Indigenous communities. So we need to recover that wisdom. And then there is this point of, how are we going to do it? I think we need to recover the wisdom within ourselves and the common sense. We have wonderful theories, and there are, so much analysis and systems thinking going on. But at the same time, we need to get back to who we really are and what really makes us human and what generates the collective. The Pulitzer Prize winner Gersman wrote that, the feminine is the operating system of the 21st century. And by that, he wasn't saying this is female. It's the feminine energy of seeing the whole, of being part of a collective, of putting the other ahead of oneself. And a lot of that ethos has been lost and has been part of creating the problems that we are living with at the moment. So can we recover much more of a holistic way of seeing things? Can we recover a generosity of spirit where there is this collaboration and communication, but also a sense of urgency in all of this? Because if we don't speed up what we're doing, we put at risk everything that we are working for at the moment. So I'm looking forward to having the continued dialogue with, and we will actually plan to continue this dialogue with some of the young people who are on this panel, and it's been wonderful to meet them, but we would ask for your support in trying to protect these global commons, and in particular, urgently, a moratorium on development in the Arctic and breaking up of that ice. And whilst we need the minerals, yes, we need rare earth, but recover them from tips. Do not start dredging in the last pristine parts of the world. Because we can does not mean we should. So can we also employ wisdom, common sense, and a real vision for the future of young people? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Inge, about your so wise words, and thank you about showing us the importance of what does it mean to be a future fit. What does it mean to be a global citizen and global commons? It's extremely important, as you said, to look the big picture. It's wonderful to have you here, Inge, and definitely we will continue the collaboration together and with all the participants. Let's move on. Next, we will have Satu Haapanen from Oulu. And related to these previous interventions and based on your experience, how the future will be invented with the youth. So please, Satu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Taina, so much for your invitation for this conference. And dear friends, it's so nice to share this moment with you on this busy Monday morning. And I say that it is a busy Monday morning because no matter if I'm a full-time politician, every now and then I want to enter the school, and now they asked me to be a substitute teacher for the next 2 weeks. And I have a pleasure of being a teacher for children of 10-year-old this morning, and I've been teaching them already handicrafts. And luckily there was this empty hour for me to participate this wonderful conference on Baltic Sea. And so from my civil profession, I am a teacher, but I've been a politician also for 20 years. And my one of my main concerns and interests has always been how to engage youth in politics. As a young politician, I was trusted with many responsibilities, and I think everything begins from the trust and collaboration. You need to give a responsibility to young people and to let them show what they can do. And that's what I'm asking also from my students, from my children. I have 3 children. I ask them, what can you do yourself? Don't expect the others to do. And as a politician, and as politicians, that's the way we have chosen. We don't want the others to do things for us, but we want to be the active ones to change the world for better. I was actually born in Sweden, and when I was a little girl, a 3-year-old girl, my family moved to a little town of Kemi, which is situated in the northeast part of Baltic Sea, in the Gulf of Bosnia, the northeast part of Gulf of Bosnia. And so I have grown up and by the sea, and also my city where I live at the moment, where all my 3 children are born, the city of Oulu, with 200,000 people. This city is situated also by the Gulf of Bosnia, and so we feel very, very strongly the sea wind all the time. It's winding, and we can see the drastic changes during the year. We can see the contrasts between the dark and white nights and dark nights in winter. And so when I remember my childhood and living by the sea, I remember the sea was in a much worse condition that it actually is today. And due to many changes in industry, stricter requirements in emissions, and so on, the sea actually it's cleaner here than it used to be when I was a child 40, 50 years ago. So the sea here, it is in a better condition, I would say, but still there is much to do, and still Finland as a whole has still look at its own emissions, and especially in agriculture, in forestry, and so on. So we still have a long way to go in order to make our sea good and better. But I'm happy still today to see the children and myself also swimming in the sea, and that is something we really need to work hard to maintain our environment good, and even to make it better for the future. For our children and grandchildren. I often tell the young people when I visit the schools, and I tell them that, hey, come on, the humanity has always faced big challenges. We have overcome as human beings and as humanity, we have overcome many big problems in our history. So this is just the one challenge, the climate change. It's just the one challenge that we can tackle, and we can win together when we put our efforts together and work together. And that is my main question today. How can we put the youth to work together with adults and also among themselves? And I think we as adults, we need to listen to youth and their solutions. So I tell the youth, don't be desperate. Now it's your job. Now it's your time to work with us, the adults, to change the world for better, to stop the climate change. For this purpose, I've created with my colleagues and civil servants, we've created a school of politics in my city of Oulu. It gathers young people from different schools, and also this school of politics reaches out to the regions and areas in the city where the youth is not so active, I would say. So the school of politics, it tries to encourage and get every young person in this city participated in decision making. And this school of politics, it also brings the elderly politicians and the younger people together in the way that also we, the old ones, we want to learn from the young people, and they teach us also. They tell us how could the decision making processes be more democratic, more participatory, etc. And one example of this is also going to the schools together to meet the people, to talk about our careers, and also to present the present problems and phenomena to the young people and ask the solutions from them. And we try to take these solutions in our decision-making processes as well. The School of Politics is quite new. It has started this year, but I'm happy to see that the young people are ready to take the responsibility themselves and to continue with this practice. As a young person, I remember very much when I was 17, I participated in a peace camp that gathered people from Sweden, Finland, Norway, and Russia together. We went to Luleå in North Sweden, and we spent 1 week together talking about the common issues that we can share and that unites us all. And I'm very much in favor of arranging this kind of peace camps or environmental camps, etc. in the future, because I think we cannot waste time by waiting that the others do things for us. We need to encourage our young people to meet each other across the borders. The world is so small. We need to find the solutions together. So Taina, dear chair lady, I wish that this contribution is something that you were expecting from me. I'm very pleased to join the discussion and also answer your questions if you wish. And one more thing, dear friends, we are striving for becoming a cultural capital of Europe, my city. So next year we will know if we will be the cultural capital of Europe, and if it happens, you are warmly welcome to see our city by the Baltic. And even if that wouldn't happen, you are still very, very warmly welcome to visit my city, Oulu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Satu. It's very inspiring to listen to you. I mean, and listen also that you are the teacher. You really have done these things. It's extremely interesting, and also your actually activities, the School of Politics, these peace and environmental camps. So I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, let's make it happen. I mean, we have here in the audience, I mean, all the key decision makers from the Baltic Sea region. So we should do it, and we should do for the youth and children. So actually, we need to ask them. I mean, how do we need to do it? So thank you, Satu, and definitely there will be questions. So if we move on and then actually have the questions later. But now I would love to actually to give the floor to the youth. Victor and Jonna, Victor from Dansk and Jonna from Finland. Do you want to, it said ladies first. So Jonna, if you start at first and then to Victor.
Yes, thank you. It is an honor to be here. First of all, I must say that we as a youth, we truly are the future. But the thing is that future doesn't just come, it is made. and we can do that on our own. We need to work together and cooperate for the common goal. And I'd like to talk about a few examples on youth and cooperation. Firstly, I myself come from Finnish Youth Agenda 2030 group, which work with the help of Finnish Prime Minister Office, and we exist to make Finnish sustainability Finland to become sustainable more faster. It is a great example on how youth initiatives can be important part of the society rather than working separately on their own. The second thing I'd like to say that every action matters. Therefore, we need to understand that making impact is way more broader field of work rather than just participating in politics. So we must find a way for everyone to take part rather than just not. So, for example, this summer I had an opportunity to work for City of Espoo's Mayor's Office in sustainability team. Together with 2 other young people, we made a survey for youth about youth participation, how youth see sustainability, and how they feel climate change is going to affect them. The results were very insightful. For example, we were able to find out and name up 3 main categories on how youth want to participate. Firstly, throughout concrete action, for example, voluntary work. Secondly, impact making through participating at youth initiatives. And thirdly, cooperation with, for example, companies, not only with municipalities, but with companies also, and NGOs. I believe that throughout giving everyone a role, and not only to the youth, but everyone at the Baltic Sea region area, we can get committed to action, and we can't leave anyone behind. And I'd like to sum it up by saying that municipalities and youth working together gives huge opportunities, both to the youth and to the municipalities. And we can't forget the companies. Municipalities play a great role in our everyday life, so therefore they can be one of the driving forces to the change. And I'd like to say that there is no change if there is no action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As you said, every action matters. It matters that giving everyone the role and leave no one behind, and have the concrete actions, schools and companies. Wonderful messages, Jonna.
Thank you.
And let's make it those reality in the Baltic Sea region. Let's listen now, Victor, from Dansk, and your initiatives.
Very happy to be here. I really enjoy speaking of everyone else. And so let's start. I'm the member of our youth council, our council of our city, Gdańsk. And I would like to say that I would like to point out that it's true that we need to put aside our political visions to work together, because in our council we have people who has different political visions, and that's diverse everybody in our council, but we are trying to put this aside, and it's working, and we can work together and find a solution to different topics. And now we are trying to raise awareness of our youth by visiting them in schools and talking about the problem of our environment and what to do to make it better. What's next? We are cooperating with many companies, and we are making many events. We are trying to do as much as we can to to make this sustainability, to improve our city. And we are mostly focused on the on this awareness, on the wisdom of our youth generation. I don't know what to say next. I can sum up this by saying that we are on a good way to improve our generation, on our youth generations, because we can see that they're starting to notice the problem of this environment.
Thank you so much, Victor and Jonna. It's important to have the voices heard. It's important that you act. We have all the obligation to act, as you were pointing out, and improving the youth generation, but also, as you said, your city and region, the world. So let's put it in that way. So wonderful to hear, and congratulations, I mean, to all of you. We need you. You can make it the future better, and we need to have you active. And as you said, that I mean, in some places and spaces, I mean, there's more politics, and in some spaces not so much. And you need to actually learn how to work on. Wonderful thing. Thank you so much. And let's then move on and wait for the questions.
Thank you.
Before that, let's move on and welcome to our next speaker. We actually stay in Dansk, and we welcome Thomas Symczak, who is actually leading the entrepreneurial foundation and incubation. And we would love to hear Thomas, that what's the role of youth, what's the role of internationalization in your activities, and how do you see the future? So Thomas, the floor is yours. So welcome, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Taina. I really appreciate this invitation, especially from my beloved university, which is Aalto. I visited the place several times. It's really, you know, state-of-the-art institution, academic higher education institution. So we are pretty international regarding the Central European Union scene, of course, because maybe, you know, to some colleagues from the other side of Baltic, Scandinavian countries, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, we are just at the beginning stage of being internationalized, because you as Westerners, in the way, you experienced this process, you know, many years ago. But in our case, it looks pretty good. We have just finished Poland Prize program, which was devoted to attract foreign startups, 18 of them throughout a year and a half, to attract them to settle down in Poland, in Schengen area and European Union, not only from within Europe, but also from overseas. We hosted startups from Ukraine, from Armenia, from Argentina, from US, and from Scandinavian countries as well. So pretty interesting, you know, experience regarding the circumstances we work in. We provided them with, that was European project, right? We provided them with around 50,000 euro soft lending grant to start developing business here. And we figure out during this endeavor that there is a lot of you know, people, very kind of technology oriented people in Great Britain, who are in the situation they are not pretty certain what they will do after Brexit, whatever Brexit means, right? I read an article in Financial Times a few weeks ago, and then the explanation of Brexit was that Britain will check out from the hotel but will never leave a room. but who knows? It looks pretty, different. And then we contacted several Indian technological players who settled down in Britain for obvious historical reasons, right? As the first entry point into Europe. And then we invited them, British citizens of Indian origins or Indians just with visas in Britain, to come to Gdańsk to settle down business here, because we have one single, like in Finland, like in other countries, one single prerequisite, which is, let's say, better in Britain, which is we are in the Schengen area. So you can move really around Europe, right? Which is not exactly the case of Britain, even being in the European Union. So there was a result. There are several companies. We will see how the future will go. Of course, this is related to also to our role in Pomeranian Smart Specialization, because we as a foundation, as a starter incubator, we are a leader of our first Pomeranian Smart Specialization, which is called technology related to maritime transport, logistics, and offshore business. Offshore is developing pretty quick, which is wind produced from energy produced from the wind out of the sea, right? So we have just signed last Friday. We have just signed the platform managed by the Marshal Governor of the region of Pomerania to support offshore manufacturing. Maybe you are not aware, but we will close down. There's already a date in Poland. We will close down our coal mining industry, which is very traditional in Poland, very long-standing. There is already a date, 2049, so in 29 years or earlier, there will be no single coal mine in Poland. So the manufacturing, the production of energy will go north from Silesia region up to the offshore and to the Baltic Sea, right? To make it sustainable, to make it green, to be part of European Green Deal, and to diverse it completely from the Silesia, from the coal, deep mining into sustainable and ecological way of making energy, producing energy. So we are also within this process we learn a lot, of course, from Scandinavian countries, especially from Norway, because they have this, offshore industry pretty developed because of the, north of Norway winds already, all the time, coming back and forth. And we are also trying to go out of Europe. We got the license. In fact, we purchased the license from University of Washington, state of Washington, which is Seattle, on the other side of US, on the Pacific coast. And then from 9 years, we organize a summer camp called Gdańsk Business Week, which is a license on Washington Business Week Foundation. For a week in American English, there is a specific camp for youth, for around 100 young people from 15 to 19 years old, who work on a business plan for 8 quarters, so 2 years altogether. They develop their own company, whether it's a technological startup or a beer brewery. That's depends on them. But then they learn how to make things in market economy, how to obey with the rules, how to be honest, pay taxes, and just make a proper business in the mix between American model and European model, which is very kind of a global way of putting young people into real market economy, not only common market in Europe, but also broader. So unfortunately, the 10th edition should be this summer, but because of the pandemic, we moved our Jubilee edition into next year. This year, I was also a mentor with one of my colleagues from our educational department in our foundation. We were mentors of the groups of the online program, which was in the middle of the night, because that was the daytime in Seattle, which is a 9-hour difference. So it was pretty interesting for us also. And the youth camp, as an original idea, was open for 9 years. Was open also not only for Polish youth, but also for young Ukrainians. We have an agreement with one of the Ukrainian educational foundation, and also from young people from Georgia. So we were also acting, and we act as a gateway, as an entry point for our Eastern colleagues from Ukraine and from Armenia, and we would like to elongate this list also on Moldova, or maybe also Belarus, because we see what's going on there. Also, Gdańsk is interesting in taking some of technological stuff of Belarus, because they were always against this dictatorship there, so they would like to, unfortunately, to move out of the country of Belarus. So we are also trying to catch some of them into, because they are very developed, into Poland, into Schengen area, into the European Union. So and then of course we try to attract as kind of cooperation with startups, with technological companies from all over Europe, especially from the West, from Scandinavian countries, from more developed countries, to work for as subcontractors, because our technological force is slightly cheaper. So we try to learn the marketing, skills, the market economy skills from the West, but we would like to provide Western companies with slightly cheaper, programists and technological staff, our engineers, because they are very good, but they cost half or 1/3 sometimes of the Western technological workforce. So this is also our kind of input into this technological cooperation across Europe and across Baltic Sea, of course, because we are pretty connected. We always say that this is the matter of just one call to call Aalto, Helsinki, or Dalarna Park in Sweden, or colleagues in Norway or in Denmark or in Rostock or in Greifswald, or Potsdam. So this is the way that we are pretty well connected. As you know, Baltic is the most connected sea in the world regarding ferry transport, right? So on the sea. So I would say that we should, apart from the ferry, the real transport, right, and logistics, we should be even more connected to be a partner for the world, also for technology, for higher education institutions, cooperation, because it's extremely important, right? Because we are different in the way, we are different. For me, I would say personally that when colleagues from Ukraine, for example, or from some other Eastern countries come and they say, you are here in Gdańsk, you are Scandinavians. And I always say, oh my God, I waited 25 years or 30 years to listen, to hear something like that. We are like Scandinavians because you are honest, you are so open. So this is great that we are, of course, some different in the way to Scandinavians, but we try to progress and to come over to the Western solutions, Western way of acting, right? And making this one Europe, one Baltic Sea region very similar, or as similar as possible, of course, in the way of making business, in the way of running higher education institutions, in exchanging programs, right? This is very, very important. Of course, we are slightly less developed than Scandinavians or Germans, but then this is also the way that every kind of partner needs the partner from the other side to learn from the different skills. So this is we are pretty optimistic, although it's a pandemic, but we are pretty optimistic regarding the development of this cooperation, right? And then I would conclude with the way that technology, do not recognize borders, right? So in the way we are already in this world, right? We should not be pretty happy that we reached, the A level, but we still, I hope we are on the good track. I am also an academic teacher, and I teach my students, especially a year ago, 2 years ago, that was very good, labor market, right? And this is unfortunately not a norm in economy, because economy goes like this. This is not a straight line. So now young people experience this downturn, right? Of course, but they have to be prepared, right? That this is normal. This is a norm, right? Sometimes the positive, development goes very, very long, but then this is always a downturn. So we have to, in the way, overcome by cooperation, by across the Baltic cooperation to overcome this downturn, and then to be prepared for the upturn and the positive development again. So this is, thank you very much, Taina. Thank you for inviting us, and we are committed partners in cross-Baltic cooperation, as you know, and also including some Eastern partners like Kaliningrad in our case, right? More than Ukraine or Georgia or other countries, because we take care of them, but they are outside of the Baltic Sea. But of course, they learn market economy, they learn democracy. This is very important. They know technology, as we know, but then they also kind of, becoming engaged in westernizing in a positive way, right? In acting in a free market, honest economy. So thank you so much once again. I will not talk longer. I think it's, if questions occur, of course, we can address them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much about those practical examples, and congratulations for your 10th edition for the youth camp. So it's extremely important that we create business plans, we do the new businesses, very practical things. Very happy to have your contribution and listen about it. As you said, technology does not recognize borders, so that we need to remember. And thank you. And let's move on, because we are a little bit short on time. And now let's move to the ITMO University and Igor Kubrienko. And with the same questions, what is the role of youth and commercialization and collaboration? So welcome Igor Kubrienko from St. Petersburg from ITMO University. Igor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Taina. Dear participant of the conference, so nice to meet you even virtually, but it is something what we have to learn also in our university, introducing the online education within a few days after the COVID-19 epidemic started. At our university, we have around 10,000 students. We're a technical university, but we are positioning ourselves as a non-classic, as an entrepreneurial, and as international university. Based on these approaches, we are intensively working on implementing the entrepreneurial skills among the technical specialization students. Every student at ITMO University, especially on master's degree level, must attend to the economics and entrepreneurial educational courses, stimulating the interest in entrepreneurship and technology-based businesses. I'm so happy myself, I'm taking part in this entrepreneurial block, delivering the training in English language, and normally I have international trial students who are working in mixed teams. And trust me, the essential part of our projects are in environmental and circular economy field. Especially I like very much one project on eatable glasses for beer with taste of salmon. I like it. We are very actively working in involving our students into different international activities through the projects and projects which are financing also by EU-Russia cross-border cooperation program. We are working mainly in Arctic, Southeast Finland and Baltic Interreg sectors of this program. And for example, next week, Norwegian, Finnish and Russian students will work together on the consulting of Karelian Republic-based companies on their willingness to develop the international activities. That we believe would be something what will help students to find a job in the future by providing services to companies already during the education in university. ITMO University students are unified in several students' union and association, supporting different type of activities, including entrepreneurship. And moreover, we are working not only with students, but also with future students by running ITMO Kids Technopark. And sometimes you can see our university is like a kindergarten. There are so many young people who is also coming to learn about entrepreneurship and doing something by hands. All students and also kids, they have access to ITMO Fab Lab, the center of prototyping. They can use different type of 3D printers, metal and wood tools, and they can produce prototypes by their own hands and make in the future a possibility for own businesses. Our task is also to develop the entrepreneurial activities internationally. And we have one pilot project. We started to set up the cooperation platform between ITMO and Xamk University, in which we will assist Russian and Finnish students to organize the cooperation on different type of joint entrepreneurial activities. These activities, as a practical step, will include the organization of entrepreneurial festival and summer schools, both in St. Petersburg and in different cities of Finland, as well as competition of students-initiated startups. We're looking forward to expand this initiative around Baltic Sea region. And I would like to show you a small video. I hope it's running. This video is demonstrating one of the huge projects which ITMO University is involved and played the active role. This project is called ITMO High Park. ITMO High Park will have the second campus of ITMO University, which will host almost 5,000 ITMO master's degree students. The leading ITMO R&D labs will find the modern facilities there. Another part of ITMO High Park is the industrial valley. The leading Russian and international companies will have the possibilities to go there, and they will have a special tax regime to develop their activities. Moreover, these companies should be the ITMO University industrial partners, both Russian and international. Also, at ITMO High Park, we will have a business park, which will host accelerate and incubating technology-based startups. The ITMO High Park will be located on the territory of New City, Yuzhny, which will have about 100,000 cities, so like a small part of St. Petersburg. But what is interesting that ITMO University, in cooperation with other actors, will generate about 12,000 new jobs in high-tech sector. As you can see, ITMO University and current students will have something to do for coming few years. And I very much hope that our international partners will join our journey. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Okay, it looks like that we lost our chairman. As far as I understand, the next speaker is Marianne Pink-Halm, Associated Professor in the University of Aarhus, Denmark. I would like to pass the word.
Thank you. And thank you to Tina, whom I hope will return for the invitation.
She will join us,
definitely. And thank you to all the other speakers for such engaging and inspirational talks on the topic of capacity building and youth leadership, actually, for change. So I'm from Aarhus University. I've been working a number of years now in cultural creative collaboration, kicking off actually with the university's engagement with Aarhus and Central Region, Denmark's being European Capital of Culture in 2017. So my experiences with this is rather ground up on capacity building and also of engaging youth from a university perspective, but also you could say from a kind of cultural creative activist perspective. which I think is with at least a lot of academics, but also teachers and researchers with artistic institutions. In Aarhus, we are kind of the oldest generation now, but we have kind of a situated knowledge from the 80s and how to engage in creative collaborations. Sorry? Okay. And I really want to thank Inge Relf for the inspiration, for for speaking towards and for wisdom, and how do we engage in smartness with wisdom. And I also want to point back to Steen Bording's contribution on Aarhus, and not least to the space from which he was giving the speech, namely Doc 1, our fantastic main library, which is actually a huge example of both cross-sectoral collaboration within a cultural institution, and a proof of being smart with culture and with citizen engagement. So I want to address what is sort of how do we engage with our youth cohort in education and higher education, but also in education as such. And I want to thank Jonna and Victor for their contribution. I think it's hugely important to acknowledge that our youth cohort, the generations of youth, are motivated for change, for action, for having and deploying agency, supported by knowledge, and with a stronghold in practice. I think this is a responsibility for educational institutions and for higher education, that we also engage in connecting with the total horizon of competences in institutions, that is higher institutions, research-intensive universities, as the one that I represent, that we engage also with educational institutions for artistic education, for creative education, and for applied sciences, to boost the space we need to give to our youth cohorts to engage and to change. Because what is important to recognize is that the grand challenges, the SDGs, are a huge entanglement. Everything is connected. So when we kind of go for clean energy, we also go for a certain kind of human-centeredness, and go for collecting wisdom beyond technology as well. So we need to support our students in engaging across disciplines and also across sectors. So we need to enhance and open up our incubation environments for human-centered creativity and innovation, as well as technology development. And best of all, to engage the human-centered creativity and innovation with technology development. I'm very much engaged in working with Aarhus University's new incubation environment, the kitchen, which attracts a lot of humanities students. And in the kitchen, they have kind of turned their awareness to what do these students bring. They bring high quality ideas based in deep knowledge, and they bring a huge motivation. They haven't done like a market analysis before they come, but they are engaged exactly in creating change. And we also need to engage in sustaining youth projects, student projects and initiatives, and our own engagement in creating sustainable change across the education institutions, but also across sectors. So to work in quadruple helix, at least environments and collaborations, and to engage citizens in change. So what I'm really interested in is enhancing human-centeredness in designs for change, and also in design with technology, which also implies engaging artistic wisdom and obviously also wisdom from original cultures. So we may engage the entanglements of the challenges that we face, not always looking to solutions as global solutions, but very much also solutions that will provide value in a situated and place-specific way. So we are in Aarhus and in Central Region Denmark, in a region that is very strong in green energy, in food, in smart city engagement, and also in creative industries. So the growth in our incubation environments should be strong in connecting these strongholds and strong in connecting with our youth cohorts wish for and urge to change. And I think I could point to a lot of like more smaller engagement, the way we teach, the way we engage with small and medium-sized enterprises through innovation networks to approach challenges for sustainability with student teams and early graduates. The way we offer summer schools also transnationally for sustainable entrepreneurship, and the way all this is in a way bound into local incubation environments, the way these incubators are connected to education institutions, but also very much connected into the urban and rural areas, and connected a connection which could be enhanced actually to the great or the numerous small and medium-sized enterprises in the region. That's kind of a Danish trademark, that we have a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises apart from like big companies. So I think we have all the building blocks. We have a lot of infrastructure. We have a lot of collaboration, and we need to kind of connect those into really strong ecosystems and to open these ecosystems to students and to youth to work in and to connect across borders. So I also want to thank the project for the wonderful innovation camps I attended, the online one from St. Petersburg. I attended in Gdansk, which was hugely inspirational, and I attended in Tallinn. So I think to do something like this, maybe to do environmental camps would be a great ways to start to engage across sectors and institutions for youth leadership in change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you so much for everybody. Wonderful panel. And especially Igor, actually taking my role, in between. We want to thank you, Inge, thank you, Satu, thank you, Victor, Jonna, Thomas, Igor, and Marianne. We would love to actually to stay on this panel and continue and have the questions. There are lots of questions in chat. But unfortunately, we are a little bit short in time and a little bit late. So I think so that we need to move on. And Marianne actually summarized extremely well that we need to commit to act, we need to engage across disciplines, across sectors. And for example, this whole event we are doing with the young generation youth. So this is actually hosted by Start North and youth initiatives. There's actually two technicians, Atte and Rasmus, which I want to already now. Thank you. Even though the Zoom environment does not offer always the best connection, but we have had actually wonderful events so far. Thank you for the panel. And let's move on to the next panel. So, I'm still on live, am I? Okay, wonderful. So, warmly welcome to the next panel, which is about how to move forward to actions. And I would like to welcome everybody, and especially the speakers. Romojus Reimeris from Lithuania, Tuija Hirvikoski from Enol and Laurea from Finland, Patricia Bussolini from European Commission, Directorate Maritime, and then last but not the least, our friend Martin Brunskov from Aarhus, but also the chair of the Open Agile Smart Cities initiative, and basically Martin is speaking on the behalf of the Open Agile Smart Cities initiatives. So, firstly, I wish to elaborate a little bit of the aim of this session. So, based on the launch book today, Smart Specialization work has shown that innovation development policies in the Baltic Sea region have led to higher performance and have brought prosperity in varying grounds, either through science and knowledge and technology, innovation, digitalization, logistics, or harbor developments. So Smart Specialization has contributed in a positive way to the focus and prioritization of innovation strategies and policies and impacted on innovation performance. However, the study also concludes that interregional collaboration, economic transformation, and implementation of SDGs are not yet a norm in the Baltic Sea region. So, as this project is wrapping up, so we are very excited to hear and discuss that how do we move forward. So what are the lessons learned and what we should do? So what are the next steps? So let's go then to the greetings and speeches. And I welcome at first Ramojus Reimeris, who is the author of Smart Specialisation and Scientific Lithuania 20 to 30 contributions and so forth. Based on your experience and what you have done, so how would you say, what would you describe? What are your recommendations on how to move forward to the actions? So Ramojus, the floor is yours. So welcome, Lithuania.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here. A very nice conference, very nicely organized, very interesting speakers, very interesting moderators of the panels. Been really enjoying this from the morning. Also, I found that Lithuania is kind of surrounded by Scandinavia because across the sea we have Sweden. You know, a little bit further north we have Latvia and Estonia. Estonia we regard as already being Scandinavian. And what I just learned that our southern neighbors, Poland, it's also being considered as Scandinavian. So we are just only one spot left un-Scandinavian probably across the Baltic Sea region. But we'll try harder and we'll be Scandinavian as well. But all right, so starting from the smart specialization that I'm really in favor of, I think that Lithuania is a good example of what it did bring to our region. Because we were active from the very beginning, from 2012, with the help of international support, some key expert group, but we really tried to bring engagement within our local stakeholders from academia, from business, and especially from the key ministries. And we've been actively working, we've been leading the process, our organization, startup, it was before called Mosta, we kind of took this thing in our hands. And we were active, not only in Lithuania developing the Smart Specialisation Strategy, but also sharing our ideas, our chosen path with other regions. And it got actually kind of a reflection from the outside to inside again. That's why the process was considered as quite successful. We've been engaged with Smart Specialisation platform, with the Joint Representative European Commission from also very beginning. And that was another platform for us to discuss, to develop the methodologies, to learn and to be among the teachers for other regions. So I think that the process was kind of good because we started with a very fragmented innovation and research system in Lithuania. With uncoordinated, poorly coordinated and lacking results, with some islands probably of excellence, but with some deep waters of underperformance and underfinancing of our research and innovation. And now we've been making progress, actually. We're still not there where we would like to be, but we are among the countries from European Union members which are making the fastest progress. So hopefully it will not stop, we will continue. And then the results will be beneficial for all the regions. What Smart Specialisation brought us, one of the key points that I'm always advocating for, actually it brought a clear standard to identify the priorities, to set the priorities, and not to become jumpy among choosing different priorities. Because before that we had Ministry of Education and Research, Ministry of Innovation, and they would kind of both have their own agendas, which not really complement each other. And those agendas would be changed within the political cycles, which probably happened already in some other regions. And Smart Specialisation, it brought some kind of order, some kind of trust, and some kind of process, which is now really admired, really supported. And I think it's for the better. We also feel that being a rather small country, we are still just one region. So we have always been trying to balance between having Smart Specialisation too narrow priorities and too broad, because one region you cannot really, you don't have the luxury to accommodate different set of priorities in different regions of the countries and seek for the diversification. You have just one region and you have to find a good combination, not being too narrow, but you cannot be too broad because then you lose specialization. But what was really missing, I think, that was lack of cooperation with neighbors. And I think that this conference today, it's really about the macro-regional cooperation. I do agree that we have a lot of projects that are really fostering the cooperation, interregional cooperation between Baltic Sea region, and I think that the main audience of these projects, I think that it's the policy implementing institutions and businesses. What we are really lacking, we are lacking the involvement of higher political level, and we are lacking of long-term involvement into the project, because actually those partnerships within the project, they start with the project, and in many cases they cease to exist with the end of the project. So I think that it's not really a sustainable way. And the thing is, given another thought, that probably we should learn better what is a clear value for the regions or the countries in participation into these projects. I mean, I'm talking about a high political level, because we see clear benefits for those innovation implementing actors, but policy setting actors, what is the benefit actually? Sometimes the message is not really clear. I've been trying to engage better collaboration with Latvia and Estonia, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, in terms of smart specialization. I thought that why we don't have more shared projects, maybe shared infrastructure, mobility of researchers, all other actions. And for some moment I thought that we have traction because we managed to engage some political level, but after that it just stopped, because I think that we did not really clearly identify, so what's in it for me, or what's in it for every of the participant to be a part of that. Talking about the businesses, they do much better, because I think that they are self-organizing elements within the value chains. For example, we have a good example of furniture value chain that's really running across the Baltic Sea region, with Lithuania, Latvia being more of a suppliers of the material, then building up to the Scandinavian IKEA or other really large companies. And actually, that's a very good, because this value chain itself is gaining and accumulating another higher value added in every chain of the value chain. Because in Lithuania, our factories, they're digitized, they're going greener, partially with European Development Fund funds, or partially with smart specialization, some of the measures of smart specialization. And actually, they're becoming better suppliers, more efficient suppliers, meaning influencing the whole value chain up to the very top. And these are very sustainable value chains. And furniture, wood is only one of the examples that we can come up on. And really, to wrap up already, so what could be the possible further action points? So I really think that we should build projects like this and many others, individual projects and other financing sources, on really proven partnerships, already existing partnerships. Of course, we should include new actors, because that's the whole point of that. But I think that we should not really build those partnerships from scratch, meaning that we already take existing partnerships, add something new, go deeper, go broader, but already build on something. We also should give another thought of analyzing the real needs of the countries being in partnerships for the interregional cooperation. What is that each country would really want from this international collaboration in terms of smart specialization or other kind of programs? What does the country or region wants to solve, or what it has to offer? Actually, that's very important. And I think that we could build projects with better political engagement on the political decision level. And the very last point, the sustainability. Today we've been talking about SDGs, sustainability, and etc. I think that it's already been implanted quite deeply within the regional politics and regional dynamics, because we have Scandinavian countries which have been really about advocating green and sustainable way of doing things really before the Green Deal of European Union and before the new Commission of European Union. I think that it's already been implemented in the region. And other countries within the Baltic Sea region, I think we will follow. I mean, we really do agree. We really want to be the part of the region. We want to really be the part of the value chains. So I think it's really aligned, and it's already there, and we need to give some time, and it will really flourish. So thank you once again for possibility to share some thoughts. Looking forward for the discussions, questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, actually, insights. I'm picking you said in the end that, in summing up, that building the project really proven partnerships, it's important. You said that also that we need to think what's the value for us on this project in the country level. And you also said that, sustainability is deeply, on our heritage. Of course, yes, it is. If we are thinking about, Baltics and Nordics, it's inherited our education, it's inherited, our everything that we do. But of course, we need the new solutions. We need to solve the grand societal challenges. So wonderful, thank you so much, Romo, your thoughts and insights. But let's move on, and next we would like to hear Tuija Hirvikoski related to this previous intervention, and based on your experiences, what's your point of view? What are your main recommendations on how we should actually move forward to the actions? So Tuija, please, the floor is yours.
Everyone. I would like to start by, first of all, thanking Mr. Markkula, who made it easier for us in Helsinki-Uusimaa region to really trust on this approach of regional smart specialization strategies. And also, Markku, you used to contribute a lot to my university, which is currently most attractive university in the whole country, and it's mainly because of the collaborative approach. All our educational programs and research development and innovation activities is aiming and really strongly boosting forward. So my first message is that yes, you can do it even though you are an academic and you are responsible for educating future generations. Approach your regional stakeholders and collaborate. As we have heard already, success in local and regional ecosystem is based on trust, constant interaction and collaboration among different stakeholders. Moreover, shared leadership and open innovation models are prerequisites for cross-disciplinary, cross-sectoral and cross-border collaboration. And here I want to comment the chat coming from, I assume, from Tallinn, saying that Helsinki-Uusimaa regional smart specialization is not mentioning Tallinn and Estonia at all. I need to check that. I'm a member of Uusimaa Coordinating Committee, and I can assure you that every meeting more or less is about how can we cross the Baltic Sea towards Estonia, how to promote the twin city approach and so forth. But you are right, we need to do more, we need to collaborate. Okay, based on the co-creation approach, co-creation orchestration project you can see in my background, and some other projects led by my university analyzing the collaboration from the point of view of stakeholders, and also European Network of Living Labs, long-lasting experiences from both the Baltic Sea region and other European regions. It is obvious. And I want to underline this. Participatory, citizen-driven research, development and innovation methods and the related leadership, governance and orchestration models have been already developed. They have been developed to the right direction during the past 20 decades. However, the development is far too slow and focusing too much into operational aspects of collaboration. If we consider the SDGs, the global wicked problems, or if we compare to the transforming potential of this type of participatory research and innovation, what it can offer to those who are renewing societies, economies, and socio-technical systems, and also compared to the resources we are spending to technology-driven infrastructures. Therefore, I would like to underline the importance of participatory research and innovation, and to reveal the potential we have in it to guarantee democratic development, the vitality of regional ecosystems, societal ecological resilience, as well as human-driven artificial intelligence, information and communication technology development. So let's put the citizens into the center, to the driver's seat, as some of the previous speakers was already emphasizing. However, collaboration between public and private partners would turn a lot more powerful if the smart specialization strategies, implementation of them, and also the companies collaborating with cities would really emphasize the citizens as the true subjects of their own lives, not as our objects, but as subjects of their own lives. And we also need to provide so-called voice for the nature and the planet in our innovation processes. And there, again, we can rely on the participatory research methods, service design, and other design approaches, because the methods are there already. And thirdly, if we would be collaborating more between regions and also between the macro regions. I want to provide you one example, not from the Baltic Sea region, but from Catalonia. Enel is really trying to work hard in order to make the European single market work, and therefore cross-macro regional collaboration is important for us. I have been benchmarking for quite some time a movement which is called Collaboratory, created and implemented in Catalonia together with other Mediterranean regions. And there they are collectively educating and involving local citizens into innovation processes to promote the usage of 5G, as well as promoting social, economic, and ecological balance in Catalonia and in Mediterranean region. So we can learn from them. We have our strengths. We are good here in Baltic Sea, but we can learn from the others. So therefore, as a recommendation, I would like to end my contribution with this statement. The bottom-up movement in our regions already created relatively strong methods and tools. But alone, the bottom-up movement will not be able to reveal all the above-mentioned potential and successes. Bottom-up collaboration calls for stronger support from top-down, that is, from regional, national, and European Union bodies, their strategies and funding instruments. By the way, in Catalonia, they are nicely also integrating different type of funding instruments to make the collaboratory to work. Anyway, that is how, by combining bottom-up and top-down, we can legitimate and benefit from the bottom-up cross-disciplinary, cross-sectoral, and cross-border collaboration, and certainly also between Helsinki region and our colleagues in Estonia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tuija. Thank you. Definitely, learning from others is extremely important. And we need to learn from other regions. We need macro regions, we need to learn globally. It's extremely important. Thank you so much for your insight. Now, let's turn to our European Commission representative, Patricia Bussolini from DG Maritime. And if you can share your thoughts, how smart specialization can support sustainable blue economy. We are particularly interested to hear your view. The floor is yours, Patricia. Welcome, Brussels.
Good morning to everybody. First of all, on behalf of DG Mare, I would like to thank you for this invitation. for this very useful and interesting event. And I would like also to congratulate with the project for this for the outcomes of the project and for this important and interesting book that I will for sure share with my colleagues. Now my speech, it is very easy for me now to make the link with the previous speaker, and I'm very happy because indeed the aspect that I would like to stress as a way on how to move forward is exactly this aspect of transnationality. Indeed, in our understanding, the project Smart Up is a best practice project, not only in terms of smart specialization implementation, but also in terms of how transnational cooperation, exchange of experience, and mutual learning at transnational level can scale up regional and national growth paths, while developing also a stronger common understanding and an operative vision of transnational challenges. So stay cooperative increasingly depends on transnational activities nowadays, and the capacity of the EU regions to develop a link with their innovation ecosystem by continuously supporting cooperation across regional sectors is also a challenge of the blue economy, as you can imagine. So in this perspective, DG Mare supports transnational cooperation as a means to explore new investment opportunity, new value chains, new business segments of blue economy. And this is also part of the broader DG Mare new approach on sustainable blue economy that will sustainably contribute to the European Green Deal with particular regard to greenhouse emissions, circular economy, sustainable food system and biodiversity, while taking also into account socioeconomic challenges of the pandemic. And this is also in line with the Sustainable Development Goals objectives. Okay, so I was mentioning that that indeed this transnational dimension of this project is very important, and it is very important as it is a flagship project. So it can be a best practice, an example for the future projects, for the future partnership that were mentioned before my intervention. And in this dimension of transnationality, sea basin strategies and macro-regional strategy, which has as characteristic that they put together region and countries, different regions and countries that have that face common challenges and common untapped opportunities. This offer an ideal background to boost smart specialization transnational dynamic in this way. And as I mentioned, in our understanding, Smart Up project is really a good example in how this can happen, how best practices, also in smart specialization, can become a common added value for the countries that take part to this project. Another example that I would like to bring to linking to what the previous speaker mentioned is the examples also coming from other sea basins, from other regions. For example, in the framework of the USAIR macro-regional strategy, which is the macro-regional strategy in the Ionian Adriatic, there is a project which is called Blue Hair, which is a project on smart specialization to support transnational smart specialization dynamics and projects and so on in blue growth, in the blue economy sectors. So I think it would be very beneficial for these two projects or other projects to exchange, to get in contact, to support mutual learning across transnational regions. Because indeed, smart specialization and how to support its evolution to the next steps, as Alexandra Reinoldi from JRC mentioned this morning. It also comes from the concrete experience that these projects can develop. In this perspective, and as also future concrete actions, DG Mare will support, with the support of the JRC, will facilitate smart specialization pillar review exercise and exchange of best practices among regions and countries, whose smart specialization strategies include blue economy sectors. The objective is to utilize smart specialization approach to reinforce blue economy community dynamics, identify best practices, can be object of replication in other regions, better identify common challenges for blue economy sector, and discuss potential solution, and also to support the preparation of next generation of smart specialization and stimulate blue economy transnational partnership, and also to support the implementation on sea-based in macro-regional strategies. For example, past week, in the framework of the macro-regional strategy Ionian and Adriatic, the macro-regional strategy has organized the first event on smart specialization. The first event on smart specialization. There was a specific sector of blue economy, but the key event was on how to support smart specialization as enabler, also not only of regional development, but also development of transnational dynamics and so on. So this is very interesting, and we understand that the methodology that the flagship project SmartUp has developed can be surely play a role of excellent example on how this can be done in concrete. Also another, and then I will conclude, also another way on how to move forward is related to the challenging exercise of combining regional, national and EU funds for national, but also for transnational projects within sea bases and macro-regional frameworks. This is very important because now we are in the crucial moment where new programs are financed, new 2021-2027 cohesion policy and research and development programs are financed, so ERDF programs and so forth. So it is very important to align at the best within the programs the different funds in order to finance projects also at transnational level to facilitate and to support these transnational dynamics. And also the EMFF for the new programming period has put in its priority sustainable development for a blue economy sector, and it will support, of course, the sea basins accordingly. So that would be DG Mare contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Let's continue the journey together. I mean, it's wonderful journey, and we would like to continue and aim higher. Now, actually, let's go to the next speaker, to Martin Brunskov, the chair of the Open and Agile Smart Cities. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Taina, and thank you everyone for joining this conversation. I think it's far too much to be covering in just a morning here, but on the other hand, to be kind of concluding on these years of working together in the SmartUp context, I think it's also a very great pleasure. Of course, as several of the previous speakers have mentioned, these are very, very wicked problems. You mentioned, Tuija, the SDGs as the world's wicked problems. And of course, I think we are all moving from this idea of finding solutions to really navigating through dilemmas. So that's in a way what has been, of course, validated also through this project. We know that lots of things are not going away. How can we have human development without destroying the planet? We know this is a very, very wicked problem. We certainly know that we cannot be naive about how we infrastructure. So if we have a smart specialization strategy, we cannot just assume that there are products in the market or technologies that out of the box, out of the thin air, supports our autonomy, which actually means supports our way of life, which is of course different compared if you compare the regions. So these problems are super difficult. There is a bad feeling of lack of trust for the moment. I don't think that it really can be overcome in simple ways. But what we can do is that also, as you, Tuija, and others point to, we can look at what are the good examples of overcoming these barriers, because we have to trust each other. We know from many, many studies from perhaps even centuries of learning that when we can build trust, we can also progress together. So smart specialization or cultural development needs a foundation for trust. And if I may point to one thing that this project has led to, is really a better understanding of the dynamics and the priorities in the region. So I think coming back also to the previous speaker from the Commission side, when we look at what instruments should support, they should always have an element of linking stakeholders in an ecosystem together so as to support the trust building, which is the foundation, in fact, for any technical or political or economic or social moves we want to make. We do have this fundamental problem that we would like to offer protection for our communities, for our regions, for our families, while we also want to reap the benefits of technology. And I think that is at the core of what the Smart Up project has been highlighting. And we do have a very good foundation. Many of you will know that the investments already happening on the local level. This is from the OECD World Observatory, actually pointing out that many of the countries and the regions in the Baltic Sea area already account for something like a quarter of national gross domestic product. So there's a lot of resources. So what we've been looking at in this project, and what really needs to also characterize the instruments in the upcoming programming period for Europe, really needs to understand how can we leverage the resource which is in a way already there. The people, Tuija, you talked about mobilizing citizens, people, but also mobilizing the investment that already is happening there. We know many ways how to do this. We know that these pilots, sometimes agile pilots, sometimes more structural, you can even call them experimental steps, are very good in this. And our friends around the Baltic Sea have demonstrated this. Let me take an example from the Finnish presidency, which I think actually very nicely also builds on the Finland, Estonia link, the rest of Scandinavia, linking to both sides, east and west, north and south. Never mind that this is centered on urban innovation. It's really about how can we be practical about having a human-centric perspective when we roll out technology. And one of the very concrete things that came out of this work, this ambition from the Finnish government, was not only understanding that we're moving from siloed government into a much more holistic way of orchestrating orchestrating safety and innovation for our societies. Yeah, this is what we do. We care for our loved ones, not in a siloed way, but in a holistic way, because it's more efficient in the future. And this not only was a problem statement, it also turned into a quite strong movement, which I linked directly to the conversations being had here in the Smart Up context. So the livingin.eu movement, which was, by the way, inaugurated in Finland, signed by the Estonian Minister of Finance and many more leaders in regions and cities, is actually now a very good example of how we can bring some collaborative effort, which leverages the roots, if you will, and links to the policy. So this can be implemented. This can be implemented in policy, can be implemented in your strategies, it can implement it in your daily life. This is my last almost last slide, but I have a conclusion I want to bring to you. Just for those who are not familiar with the livingin.eu, supported by Committee of the Regions, many local communities and associations, it actually addresses these cross-cutting issues that nobody, no one, no vertical, no region, no country can solve by themselves, including monitoring, measuring how we're doing, including the capacity building, and of course, the whole market-oriented aspects. So my conclusion here, having listened to the vision from the colleagues and from the events over the years, is that I think that the region is not only a leader, it's a co-leader. It's many like to work with colleagues and people, in fact, from good co-learner, if you can say that. Of course, it's back to the bench learning and all of that. So one of the really valuable things that has been evolved through this project is that the ability to learn and put that into practice with others can be, if not institutionalized, then at least practiced. And I think that needs to be supported by the strategies, not just the smart specialization strategies, but strategies in general. And the final point, we should see this in the upcoming instruments in the MFF. We should see it in all the sectorial policies, this awareness of a transversal layer, such as the livingin.eu. And we should see it on the member state level. We should see it on the local level. So these are my thoughts. Thank you for listening, and thank you for inviting me also, Marco. And Taina here to the conversation. I think it's been a great few more years, and we will certainly continue, because as we all know, these issues are not going away. But this type of leading together, learning together, is the only way forward, I'm quite sure, and I hope we will see lots of footprints in the MFF and the upcoming programs as they progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Martin, about your wonderful insights about trust, about leveraging and mobilizing, I mean, everybody, investment, citizens, and also the example of this living in EU, which actually is one of the examples about that Baltic Sea region can be co-leader, co-learner, and then actually can mobilize this, the vision and also the funding. Wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much. Thank you for the whole panel. Thank you, Romojus. Thank you, Tuija. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Martin. We would love to have the questions, but we are a little bit late, so I think so that we need to close this panel and move to the closing session directly. So I warmly welcome Markku Markkula back to the closing remarks. If we are moving directly to the closing, maybe actually if we take first Alexandra Reinoldi from European Commission Joint Research Centre to the closing remarks from the smart specialization point of view and also the future point of view. Alexandra, if you are listening at Sevilla, the floor is yours.
So thanks a lot, Taina. Thanks, Markku, and thanks to all the speakers and those who have actually put forward their experience and their ideas in this great morning discussions and conversations. I don't take much time. It's very difficult to synthesize everything in a couple of minutes, as always. Marco is much better than me in doing this. So I'm trying to offer him a way forward, just putting together, I think, four topics that I have recurrently heard this morning. One is sustainability. So, and the issue that I think we are all on the same page when we say sustainability needs to be a guiding principle. So it needs to be our fil rouge in building and implementing innovation strategies across the EU and collaborating with each other. This is something that it's not just it's not anymore an accessory. It is something which is intimately embedded into our idea of policy making and getting and achieving objectives. So linked to sustainability. The second topic is about collaboration. I've heard many examples, and much enthusiasm across collaboration, not only at country level, but indeed the Baltic Sea region is an example of how collaboration has been fruitful also internationally. So across countries, across regions, I've heard a lot about cities as well. So this is also a very concrete way on how collaboration, real collaboration on real projects can happen. But I'll take something which has been mentioned by a speaker. We should not start from scratch once more. We should build on what we have and take it up to the next level. The third thing is the third topic is very pretty much connected to collaboration, which is learning from others. And probably here we can take it to the next step while not just limiting ourselves to our neighbors and to the stakeholders, our friends, our colleagues with whom we collaborate, for example, in the Baltic Sea region. But we can take it up further. So learn from others which are not probably our usual interlocutor. We can go beyond the Baltic. We can go and look at similar experiences, similar contributions that come from all over Europe and also from beyond. Let me make you an example. A couple of years ago, I was talking to some Tunisian stakeholders, so from Tunisia, on smart specialization at the regional level. They wanted to experiment this. And they mentioned me of a huge region in southern Tunisia, which is basically desert, and where the community is located only mainly along the coastline. And this has reminded me a lot about Arctic regions. And I told them, well, why don't you look at Lapland as a good example? Maybe they thought I was crazy. Maybe some of you think that I am a bit crazy. But I think that we can go outside of our usual box and again build on what we know. And the final point is about what Marco mentioned at the beginning while wrapping up the first session, putting together knowledge and know-how. And this is again not about just evidence or just science. It's also community. It's also building on what a community learns, on what people know, on what they can do, and therefore add a clear element based on people to the strategic construction that we want to build. Trying to use all the resources we have, from the political leadership to the technocratic and scientific evidence, to community involvement and to spontaneous movement that come out of the civil society and were very well mentioned earlier on today. So I think that this can be a kind of a compass that could lead us in the next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alessandro. Let's go directly to Marco.
Okay, thank you again. And now I'm here replacing Ossi Savolainen, our regional mayor. First, I'm sure he would have stressed heavily that this year, our Helsinki region, Helsinki-Uusimaa region, we have renewed our Smart Specialisation Strategy. We have learned a lot. We have analyzed recent years, what works, what does not work, and then we specified our priorities. First of the priorities is carbon neutrality, for sure. That's the high priority politically here as well, and together especially with industry. The second is our citizen city. So see the cities, different communities of practice as an outcome of strong citizen engagement, citizen awareness, but citizen commitment to action. And we need, as a regional council, we need to support that kind of new development with a strong focus on reaching the targets. And our third is modernizing industry. And with industry, we don't mean only the traditional heavy industries, not only machinery and manufacturing, but all industries, public and private, including services and businesses. So those are the focus areas, and inside each of those, so then we work on, and if I sum up from today's discussion, so first Europe, we need to renew, and we need to be ready to renew now, not waiting another 5 years or so. And for that we need forerunners experimenting, piloting, prototyping and scaling up. And that means broad local collaboration and European partnerships. And one of those priorities is to increase the partnerships around the Baltic Sea. So kind of forming a new Hansa, everyone in the Baltic Sea, especially the authorities, we know the long history of Hansa collaboration for businesses when we did not have any of these modern technologies in use. The second key outcome of today is that the role of cities and regions as well is changing. And in that we have excellent examples of renewal, and that definitely in creating some more of these European-wide partnerships, we can use the results of this Baltic Sea Smart Up project. And our region's third summing up of today is that we need to focus much more on digitalization, because digitalization, that is making so many changes today. We have learned so much during the COVID crisis, and we need to implement those practices of global collaboration and what we can do inside our different organizations in our different communities of practice. And that's something that we definitely need to do together. And actually, as Martin Brunskov summed up his statement, so let's move to bench learning and from that to action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Markku Markkula. Thank you so much, Alexandra. I use the opportunity to thank all the speakers, all the facilitators, all the technicians, all the partners, all the participants, everybody who has been involved here today and during these couple of years. It has been wonderful time, wonderful event, wonderful morning, wonderful afternoon. Together, let's continue the journey. It's important, as pointed out today. We also thank you the lively discussion and interest, and we are so sorry about that we could not take the questions because of the timing manner. But we are looking forward for the future collaboration, and definitely we will continue. And now I think that we are looking for the virtual cocktails and connections to the couple of places and spaces. So let's celebrate. I think it will take a minute or so that we will bring the glasses and champagnes and so forth. There are places and spaces. I think that Lithuania has promised to connect Aarhus is connecting. I hope that Brandenburg is doing that as well, Latvia and onwards. So let's now celebrate. Let's take a minute and come back. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody. So, cheers. 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 Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, and thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you. There.